Now we have seen drug target interaction. Now let us see how based on the physiological actions or based on the therapeutic effect, based on their actions, how the drugs are classified. Based on their action, it can be classified in many ways. One is the antacids. First and foremost is antacid. As antacids, as the name itself suggests, are against acid. You know that we have secretion of HCl in the stomach, which is actually triggered by enzyme pepsin. So if there is excess secretion of acid, that also leads to eating away of our stomach layers, causing ulcers. So for the treatment of any ulcer, peptic ulcer or duodenal ulcer, the drugs which are used are antacids. So they reduce the secretion of HCl in the stomach. So for many number of years, they were using only some drugs which are having a symptomatic effect. That is, symptomatic effect means you are, as you this thing, when there is excess acid secretion, you will have the burning sensation of the stomach. By using certain drugs, they have controlled the burning sensation, but not the cause of the cause of this action. This thing, now, because ulcer is due to excess secretion of acid, the acid causes burning. The burning is controlled by this type of drugs called this thing. Certain things like sodium hydrogen carbonate and a mixture of aluminum hydroxide and magnesium hydroxide. They are used initially. A mixture of these things are used for as antacids earlier. They have neutralized the excess secretion, excess acid in the stomach, so that the patient is relieved of only the burning sensation. But then the actual problem of the acid secretion is not prevented. So then came the certain other things. They have found that certain things like histamines are very much responsible for triggering the action of renin, so triggering the action of pepsin, so that more acid is secreted. So this causes this thing. So by controlling or by inhibiting the action of histamine, they can control the prevention of acid. Once the acid is not there, there is no other problems like burning or ulceration or things like that. So two such drugs which are very found to be a very useful drug, and for a very long time this cimetidine, that is called Tagamet from SKF, is the largest selling drug, because this type of ulcerations of the stomach are very common among most of the people of the world. So cimetidine was the first, and then over cimetidine, then came the ranitidine. So cimetidine was the largest prescribed or largest used drug in the world for a long time, and this got replaced by ranitidine. So Zantac is the name by Glaxo. Okay, this is by SmithKline and Beecham, and then this is SmithKline, and that is by Glaxo Laboratories. So these two drugs really revolutionized the treatment of ulcers, and they act as antacids. One is antacids, we have seen. So, and then we have to see what are antidepressants. Okay, these antidepressants are, you know very well that we have discussed a part of it in the last this thing itself. There are certain chemical substances like noradrenaline, which are noradrenaline, which is responsible for keeping up our mood. That is a normal mood, not very elated, not very depressed. They are responsible. This chemical transmitter or this chemical messenger is responsible for maintaining the mood of the person. In case if the noradrenaline is secreted less, or if the noradrenaline is destroyed, or noradrenaline, certain enzymes, they destroy the noradrenaline. So once they are destroyed, they don't remain in for a long time. So that there is a scarcity of noradrenaline sitting on the receptor site, so that causing depression. So they have come out with a certain drugs like antidepressants, which actually prevent the enzymes which are destroying the noradrenaline, prevent the action of the enzymes which are destroying noradrenaline, so that more of noradrenaline remains in the receptors for a longer time before destruction, and so the mood of the person is remaining the same. So such drugs are iproniacid. One such drug is iproniacid, and of course we have a lot of drugs of that type. The popular ones are iproniacid and phenylcyne. Okay, these are the two drugs, iproniacid and phenylcyne. Then later there are a lot of other drugs which are which came into picture, like chlordiazepoxide, meprobamate. Okay, certain drugs like chlordiazepoxide, meprobamate, and other things like eucanil. Okay, so these drugs have come into picture, and they have these drugs like chlordiazepoxide, meprobamate, and this thing, they are supposed to be very long very active or very more powerful antidepressants, and they are responsible for treating depression. So let us now, we have seen two groups of drugs. There are certain more drugs like this which we will take it up. So now we will come to certain other type of drugs which are based on their physiological action. Other things, these analgesics. Analgesics are supposed to be substances which are supposed to relieve the pain. Relieving the pain can be by either reducing or by abolishing. So the relieving can be reducing the pain or totally abolishing the pain. Okay, so for the group of drugs which act through, which are used for relieving the pain and releasing the thing, are called the analgesics. They mostly they are classified into two types of thing. One is non-narcotic analgesic, other is narcotic analgesic. Okay, what do you mean by non-narcotic analgesic? Non-narcotic analgesics are compounds. For example, typically you have an aspirin. That is acetyl salicylic acid. Chemically it is acetyl salicylic acid. This aspirin has the power to reduce or relieve the pain by, actually, the aspirin acts by inhibiting the prostaglandin synthesis. There are certain chemical messengers like prostaglandin. These prostaglandins are secreted at the site of the inflammation. Wherever there is an inflammation, when we have an injury or when we fall, that place become little bulgy, that is the inflammation. So immediately after inflammation, this prostaglandin is secreted at the site. And this side, because of this injury or this is fall, the prostaglandin synthesis causes the inflammation, and this in the inflammation, so naturally touches the nerve nearby. Because of this, the pain is felt and the pain is carried to the brain. We feel the pain. So by inhibiting the prostaglandin at the site of the injury or at the site of any damage, the aspirin in fact doesn't causes the, so it prevents the formation of inflammation or prevents the inflammation formation, so that in the absence of inflammation there is no pain. And so by inhibiting the prostaglandin synthesis, aspirin relieves pain or totally abolishes pain. So another aspect of aspirin is, apart from this anti-inflammatory, so they are called anti-inflammatory. Because of this thing, they are called anti-inflammatory drugs. Anti-inflammatory drugs. So they are not, apart from this anti-inflammatory activity, it also has anti-pyretic effect. What do you mean by pyrexia? Is known as increase in body temperature. So anything which takes care of or which brings down the body temperature is antipyretic agent. Aspirin also acts as an antipyretic agent apart from anti-inflammatory agent. Okay. So but the usage of aspirin even for a long time doesn't cause any, even if it is used for some years, maybe there may be certain side effects, but it doesn't cause any addiction. Addiction in the sense, repeated usage of this drug, whether you want it or not, you will be habituated to the drug and you will start using, even when there is no pain. So such drugs are called narcotic drugs. These narcotic drugs, they no doubt relieve the pain. They are for relieving excess pain. So for relieving excess pain, where things like aspirin may fail, they are very much useful. These narcotic analgesics are useful, but the problem with the narcotic analgesics is that they are habit forming. In the sense, if you start using in therapeutic quantities, it no doubt causes the pain sensation is not this thing, because it does to a certain extent alters the sensation so that the pain is not felt. Okay. But then, in case if it is used for a continuous time, or in case if it is used in little more time, it causes a lot of this thing like coma, palpitation, and things like that. They also cause sleep. Okay, even in therapeutic quantities or at times they also cause sleep. They reduce the pain, and of course by altering the sensation, once there is no this thing, if you feel numb for this thing, you feel sleepy. Okay, but a higher usage, it leads to coma, this thing, and many neurological disorders. So this causes a lot of neurological disorders. So many examples of such drains are heroin. Okay, and you know that heroin, codeine. Okay, these are all even some things like opioid derivatives, morphine, pethidine. Lot of such drugs are there. Okay, these things like narcotic analgesics are preferably used for relieving high degree of pain, especially during operations. During operations you feel, or after this thing, you feel very heavy pain, but the pain has to be sustained, or you have to actually no other go but to tolerate that pain. So to a certain extent, but this is a wanted pain, so naturally these narcotic analgesics are used in mostly in during operations or in post-operation when there is the degree of pain is very high. So this is about analgesics. So then we will have to come to certain other important drugs like antibiotics. Of course, we shall see about it.